Vanguard is officially here. Now, on this channel, you guys know that we're good with a healthy dose of skepticism when it comes to things. And generally, Call of Duty Vanguard's reveal was pretty interesting. I would give the overall reveal event maybe like a 4 or 5 out of 10 though. But in this video today, there's actually a lot going on with Vanguard that I want to talk about. Not because I'm really interested in the base game, but because Vanguard very much could change Warzone forever in a really positive way, and make Warzone an even better product. But there's lots that we need to talk about, and lots of details that need to be resolved by the guys over at Call of Duty. To start with, I just want to talk about the fact that, there's no excusing what's happened over the last couple of months, and technically the last year with Warzone. It's been massively mistreated by the developers over at Call of Duty. They haven't given it enough resources and time, and ultimately Call of Duty Cold War was absolute garbage. And because it was garbage, it made life harder for the developers, who had to port over games from different engines, and do all kinds of crazy stuff to appease what Activision wanted in this integration. And there's no excusing that. There's no excusing the fact that the integration was terrible, and that ultimately, Call of Duty Warzone was neglected for a large period of time. There's also no excusing that the game launched without an anti-cheat and kind of thought maybe it could get away with it, and then only because people vocalized their concern did they actually do something about it. So ultimately Warzone is coming from a really bad place, and I feel like this video is going to be quite objective because one of the things I've seen very early on from the vast majority of COD creators is over-excitement about Vanguard already. And they're overly excited because Warzone and Call of Duty generally has lowered their expectations so far to the ground that honestly anything seems like an upgrade to them. I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to point fingers, I don't think that's healthy, and I do agree that people can be excited about things. I just feel as though the COD community generally at the moment is sort of like, oh yeah, this is great, so let's just forget everything that's been terrible, because obviously everything's going to change. And that's not always the case. So Vanguard. Let's talk about Vanguard, let's talk about what it offers. The first thing being an anti-cheat, and this anti-cheat was advertised as a piece of marketing, something I don't really agree with, but to some degree it's damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they don't mention an anti-cheat and make a big deal out of it, and they sort of make it this sort of side note, then some people will think they don't care, and if they do make a big deal out of it, they're using it for marketing, and that's sucky and looks awful. But fundamentally, yes, an anti-cheat is coming, and it seems as though that this takes some pretty good in-house operation. I imagine this is probably their own product. They weren't content with outsourcing an anti-cheat from something like Easy Anti-Cheat or BattlEye, and they weren't content with potentially having their engine shared with an external anti-cheat. So they've made this thing from the ground up, and it is promising. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that a kernel level anti-cheat or a system scanning anti-cheat won't make a difference, because it will, and it will certainly detect a large number of cheaters and knock them offline. More importantly though, they've taken some steps even before this, and in the most recent ban wave, Call of Duty actually targeted the largest hardware ID spoofing software that is being utilized by cheaters online today. And effectively, a hardware ID spoofer means that if an account gets permanently banned or hardware banned for cheating, where it detects the motherboard, the system, and certain internal components in order to determine that, it sort of spoofs the numbers. It's kind of like, pretending that your PC is an entirely different PC in order to get back into the game and get around the hardware ban. And they've managed to take that offline, and it's incredible because not only does it knock off the cheaters' actual accounts, it also knocks off the accounts that they're not cheating on. So it's a 2-in-1 and double whammy, and I absolutely live for it. And also, more importantly, one of the most incredible things they've done is they're able to identify when accounts have been compromised and when people are trying to sell hacked accounts to people to cheat in-game. This is a really great step, and these are two really good constructive steps that has definitely reduced the number of cheaters I've seen in Warzone in the past week or two. Now, there's no guaranteeing that this anti-cheat is going to solve anything. It could be something that's circumvented relatively easily, or it could make a massive difference. And fundamentally, there will always be some cheaters in the game. The important thing here is that this should circumvent the majority of them. So overall, I guess the anti-cheat gets like an A++ from me. I think it kind of sucks that this isn't something that was planned and done way before ahead of time, but I guess they weren't expecting Warzone to be as successful as it was. So at least it's something that they've planned and worked on relatively quickly. Building an anti-cheat isn't necessarily easy. I do believe that they could have solved this much quicker than a new game release, but I guess it's something. Next, we have the new map for Warzone. We have no idea what this looks like, but allegedly it could involve some new things such as boats, possibly planes, and could be a larger map that features more ways to get around. We'll see how this goes. This isn't something I'm going to spend a lot of time on because there isn't a lot of information, but what I will spend some time on is the fact that there appears to be some significant engine upgrades in the new Warzone release for Vanguard, namely micro-destruction and also the ability to possibly swim and fly. It would appear that Vanguard features a level of micro-destruction akin to a sort of lighter version of Rainbow Six Siege. So if you're in a building, there will be certain destructible elements such as windows, certain walls within the buildings, and it will allow you to kind of almost use certain things to your advantage. So you could, for example, shoot off a window that was previously closed and then throw some grenades inside. This is something that we've yet to see in any Call of Duty game. I don't know how widespread it's going to be, but it is potentially promising and has some really good implications for Warzone. Most importantly though, and most incredibly importantly, is the fact that this seems to be some kind of engine upgrade revolving around swimming and being able to interact with water, if the rumors are true that the new map is going to feature boats, which is great for the game and will definitely add a new layer of enjoyment and a new layer of just general accessibility. Graphically, the game also looks fantastic, and allegedly it looks better than Modern Warfare 2019, but fundamentally we're going to have to see whether or not the graphics sort of hold up on the consoles, and will they get an FOV slider, and will they maintain a smooth 120Hz experience. But the biggest reason you're going to see a substantial change in Warzone and a substantial change in the way Warzone is treated as a product is that Call of Duty Vanguard and Warzone are operating on the same engine. This is the same Modern Warfare 2019 engine, but it's simply been upgraded. And this is really, really important because a lot of the errors you saw with Warzone with Cold War and a lot of the delays and a lot of the fact that there was just a lot of filler content in between was down to the fact that in order to get Cold War content into Warzone, they had to take it off of the Cold War engine, which is a very old engine, and convert it into the Modern Warfare engine and effectively build it from the ground up all over again. So every character skin, every weapon skin, every attachment, all of their damage values and statistics and how they work had to be completely redone every single time something new was added to Cold War. And that's a terrible workflow. That's like me giving you a PDF that you can't edit and being like, well, just convert it to a Word document. And you can't convert it to a Word document, so you have to type out the whole document all over again. And that's basically how it works, and that's how the system has been dragging Warzone behind in such a bad way. Now, because all of the main studios are basically switching to this new engine, and it would appear that Treyarch is also working on the zombies for this new engine for Call of Duty Vanguard, there seems to be a universal consensus within studios that this engine is here to stay, and it will be the focus engine of Call of Duty and Call of Duty Warzone. And that's a great thing, because it means anytime something is released in Vanguard, it's quickly ported over to Warzone, and it doesn't require a severe amount of time and effort to do so. If there are new assets or new maps added to Call of Duty Vanguard, those assets and map levels and layers could potentially be used as changes within Warzone. So for example, if they decided to develop a new 16-player map in Vanguard and they said this is really cool, you could literally rip that map from Vanguard, put it in Warzone and make it a point of interest. And you could do that much quicker, much faster and much easier than you could do effectively anything that you could in Black Ops Cold War. So it's kind of why you've never really seen any major changes to Verdansk. It's because there was no reason to do so. When Modern Warfare 2019 released, Verdansk was kind of fitting with the theme, and they didn't really make any serious map changes because they weren't really expecting Warzone to be so popular. When Cold War came round, whenever new content was released for Cold War, it simply took far too long for them to port stuff over, and even the remade version of Verdansk probably took an extreme amount of time. Now, with all of the studios working on the same engine and utilizing the same engine, the chances of content being added more quickly, more consistently, and just better content generally speaking is much higher, because there's no longer this extra legwork for the developers to have to try and mess around with things to get it to work properly. It's pretty much a straight copy and paste to some degree. And yes, that is an oversight from my end. It's not simple as Control-C, Control-V. They will have to work on some things and they will have to maneuver things to make it work within Warzone, but it's definitely a far greater improvement than the system that they're working with now. Overall, I'm going to give the situation a B+. I mean, it could be fantastic for Warzone. There is a chance here that we're going to have a whole new wave and generation of content for Warzone that is progressively going to get better alongside Call of Duty Vanguard. And it also means that potentially the next Call of Duty release will also use the same engine, thus extending the life cycle of Warzone in a greater way. And this is something that we can very much look forward to, and something that I think will improve how much content and how quickly we see content within Warzone. If you want to keep up to date with everything involving Warzone and Vanguard, and of course Battlefield 2042, leave a like, leave a sub, and I'll catch you guys again in the next video. And let me know your thoughts on everything you've heard today.